computer in their home. Okay, so predicting the future is hard, and the reality is sometimes light years from what the experts think. Who would have predicted the successes of the 5 we honor today? These individuals have moved on from the seats you now occupy to demonstrate outstanding character and achievement in their fields and in their community. These are terrific alumni of McCaskey, whose journeys are great examples and contain lessons for us all. Thank you for joining us. Before we introduce the distinguished alums, we'd like to have join me here on stage library media specialists from East and from McCaskey, Zintra Gorman and Samantha Samatos. The Alumni Association has been involved in special efforts over the years to raise money for books for the library. We're very pleased to present this year's donations to the 2 media specialists. These are checks for over $3,300, which is nice. Keep in mind, what we've been doing over the years has raised over $130,000. This year's gifts, we're proud to present this year. I would now like to invite to the podium the principal of J.P. McCaskey, Dwight Nolan.
Good morning, seniors. Good morning, friends of McCaskey, faculty members. It's just great to have you here. I'm not used to the bright lights. Matt Watson, man, you did it this time. As an introduction, I was reflecting back on the McCaskey student population. McCaskey is home to nearly 3,000 students in 9 through 12. Some of them are from Lancaster County, but some are from Russia, some are from Turkey, Bhutan, Puerto Rico, the Ukraine, Peru, Mexico, Italy, Lebanon, and that's not the county just north of us, Cuba, Barbados, Kenya, Liberia, and I'm sure someone's out there saying, Mr. Noel, you didn't say where I was from, but places all over the world. Our students come together here at McCaskey to learn and to begin to lay a foundation of knowledge and skills that will allow them to follow their dreams in the future. Who knows? Sitting out here today in our audience may be future Green Berets, maybe world-class skiers, track stars. I sort of doubt that it's all going to come in one person, though. Maybe we have accomplished dancers that will run their own dance studios, sportscasters who were basketball stars, politicians, community leaders, and of course, maybe there are public health scholars in our midst. Students, our dream for you is that in 5, 10, 15 years, that you will end up on this side of the stage as a distinguished alumni of J.P. McCaskey High School. That is our goal for you. Make that a goal for yourself. Those of you who are entering the health careers, you have a long future in front of you. Take it to the top of the game. Those of you who are going on to finance, take it to the top of the game. It's a great opportunity. You're entering the financial world at a wonderful time to make a distinction for yourself and for the people around you. For those of you who are going into education, again, a great time to make a huge difference, to bring back to a community what you've been given here at McCaskey. I could go on and on. But at this time, I'd like to turn it over to the MC of our show today, someone that's known by all of us, Mr. Dick Hawksworth.
Good morning. I was listening to Mr. Nolt list all of those countries. Very impressive. I came from a rather exotic area myself. I was born on South Duke Street. I was born in a house on South Duke Street. My mother didn't make it to the hospital in time, so I can say yes, I was born on South Duke Street. I grew up in the southeast area of Lancaster. And my folks didn't have a car, so that was our world. The 7th Ward, we called it back then. And I'm proud to say that I'm a product of the 7th Ward and Lancaster's public school system. How many of you went to Wheatland? Let's hear it, yeah. How many went to Wheatland? How many went to Lincoln? How many went to Reynolds? That's impressive. There is one more. How many went to where I went? Edward Hand. Yeah. Never fails, does it? Never fails. Good schools. Yeah, I went to George Washington Elementary School, next door to Edward Hand, and came here to John Pearson McCaskey High School and managed to graduate. We have with us some former recipients of McCaskey's Distinguished Alumni Award. And as I mention your name, would you please stand and be recognized? Nelson Polite Sr., class of 41 and World War II veteran. Nelson. Barbara Carvuzis Valvadas, class of 45. Barbara. Leon Buddy Glover, class of 67. And among other things, former principal of Edward Hand. Yours truly, class of 62. Gordy Craft, class of 58. One of the best coaches of track and football, J.P. McCaskey had. Coach Craft. Rosa Cunningham Harris, class of 67. Vicki A. Wright Smith, class of 84. These people you are about to meet, and those who came before as members of the Distinguished Alumni, took different career paths, but they all have one thing in common. They never quit. When faced with a challenge, an obstacle, they found a way around it or over it. It's like running hurdles in track. You've had a tough day. It's your last event, maybe. You're hitting that last hurdle. You don't know if you can make it. You have a choice. You can stop and turn around. You can run around it, get disqualified. or you pull all you've got and you make that last hurdle. That's what these people did. And all the other members of the distinguished alumni. They didn't quit. They found a way to meet the challenge and succeed. And that's how you become successful. James Spoo, class of '65, met many challenges, as you will hear. And he found a way over or around every one. Jim graduated from McCaskey High School in 1965. During his high school career, he was co-captain of the cross-country team, a member of the wrestling team, and he served as homeroom president. Upon graduation, Jim entered the United States Marine Corps. He served in Vietnam from 1966 to 1969. After returning from his military service, he entered the Thaddeus Stevens Trade School in Lancaster. He graduated in 1972. He was a member of the cross-country, wrestling, and track teams and served as the president of the Automotive Technicians Club, president of the Student Union, and president of his senior class. He was awarded the Alumni Service Award in 2006. Now, it gets interesting. He returned to military service in 1973, spending the next 27 years as a member of the U.S. Army Special Forces, the Green Berets. He was qualified in Airborne, Ranger, Special Forces, Pathfinder, Military Freefall, HALO, that's the military version of skydiving, Combat Diver, Scuba, Sniper, and he received extensive training in mountain climbing and skiing. In 1984, he was promoted to warrant officer and served as the detachment commander of a special reconnaissance and sniper team during the Gulf War, and responded to situations in numerous countries during his career where conflicts and civil wars threatened the United States' interest. In 1993, he was recognized for serving 20 consecutive years on the Special Forces A detachment, the basic combat element within Special Forces. Jim won the U.S. Forces Europe Combined Slalom and Giant Slalom Master Ski Championships in Germany in 1994 and 95. He also competed 54 marathons in 30 states in the United States, 20 marathons in Europe, and 1 marathon in Nigeria, for a total of 75. His goal is to complete a total of 100 marathons and run a marathon in each state of the United States before he hangs up his running shoes. He was also the head cross-country and track coach for Eyre High School in Eyre, Massachusetts during the school years 1980 and 1981. During his military career, he earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland. After his retirement from the Special Forces, upon completing 30-plus years of military service, he joined the Diplomatic Security Service of the Department of State. He serves as the chief of the Special Operations Branch, and he has responded to many crises while working in approximately 100 countries. He received State Department Superior Honor Awards for his service in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Kosovo, Yemen, Albania, Bosnia, and Liberia. And Jim was an Eagle Scout as a teenager. He later became a Scout leader, earning the District Award of Merit. However, he says his greatest scouting achievement is being the father of 2 Eagle Scouts, his sons Jimmy and Josh. Jim is also proud to be the grandpa to Taylor, Kayla, Brett, and Brooke. He was married to his wife Missy for nearly 25 years when she lost her gallant battle against breast cancer. She was the force behind her family by being a wonderful wife, a loving mother, and a dedicated elementary school teacher. Ladies and gentlemen, students of McCaskey High School, please welcome me in honoring James Spoo, class of '65, and class of 2009 distinguished alumni.
This is a very humbling experience. It's a great pride to receive such an award. I have to say, in my career, before I entered McCaskey High School, during my 3 years at McCaskey High School, and every year since I left McCaskey High School, to include all the students here today, you'd have to agree there's some incredibly fine students that walk the halls of McCaskey High School. So it's really special to be thought of as a distinguished member of such a distinguished group of people. I'd like to talk to you about education and how it impacted on my life. It's quite interesting because I've been around the world 3 times and had a great time doing it. But someone might say, well, what's an old guy like him knowing about anything that can tell us kids? We know it all because we're high school students and teenagers. Well, as teenagers, I think we're all the same, but we're just different. When I was a teenager, I thought the same way. And what's interesting is we are exactly the same as when I went to high school in '65 as you're going to graduate in 2009. I'd say the difference is we have a different era. When I went to high school, we stood around and listened to little transistor radios or listened to the radio in the car to an AM station, WLAM. Or we went to the gas station and said, hey, fill it up $1 worth. Because gas was probably about 18 cents, I guess. The difference between us and you is you have cell phones, iPods, you got Blackberries, you have all kind of technology. When I was a kid in high school, we had to go to the library to research, and they had to go to the little drawer with these little cards called Dewey Decimal System or something. And you go to the computer and check on Google Earth, or just Google, let's say. Guess what? It's the same, just different. But it's really, really important. You're receiving the greatest opportunity in a lifetime, and it's free. I tell you, when you leave here, nothing's free. And nothing's hard, it's always harder. High school is a piece of cake. Okay? So let's talk about teenagers. Maybe I'm wrong, and you'll be the judge. But when I was a teenager, the first thing we thought about was get your homework done so we can get off our backs. Then you thought about sex. Then you thought about getting a job so you could have your own spending money and nobody can tell you what to do. You should buy neat clothes. Then you thought about sex. Then you wanted to get a driver's license so you could be on your own. And then you started thinking about sex. But then you wanted to get an education and get the heck out of here so no one could ever tell you what to do ever again. That's the part I like. Because man, that is so untrue. Just think, today's the 6th. In 9 days, someone's going to tell you what to do. And for the rest of your life, someone's going to tell you what to do. So let's talk about this education thing, because it's really interesting. Because you heard what I did for a living. Okay, I ran around the world on wild and crazy things with a bunch of wild and crazy guys. The greatest people ever made by this great country was. And we did some interesting things, but we had to learn. And we were always learning. And it was 10 times harder than high school. And when you showed up in a Special Forces training environment, if you didn't know all that information that you were required to know in high school, they didn't have time for you. They told you, go peel some potatoes and drive a truck, that's all you're used for. Now let's talk about what you had to know. Let's talk about falling out of an airplane. It takes no talent, it's all based on the gravitational pull of the Earth's surface. Okay, most paratroopers jump at 1,250 feet. I'd be scared to jump that low, that's terrible. In Special Forces, you jump from 25,000 feet. That's 5 miles above the Earth's surface. You can see the curvature of the Earth from up there. Before you go out that door, though, you have to pre-breathe. So you have to study tables on how much oxygen and for how long, because for some reason the human body needs to breathe. Because at the point you got to bail out, and you have a small pair of tanks on your side that'll get you to the ground, because you're going to travel at terminal velocity of 120 miles an hour for 2 minutes before you open up at 4,000 feet. But before you got that door, you have to think about the barometric pressure, so you have to set your automatic opening device. And you have to set your altimeter, because if you're thinking above ground level and you set for above sea level, there's a point in time where when you're getting ready to open your parachute and you didn't compensate for above ground level, above sea level, that Mother Earth could come up and slam you right in the chest, and that kind of the end of your jumping career. Or let's say you go to the bottom of the deep blue sea and you swim with the fishes locking out of this big submarine. You got to think about things they taught you in physics class. Let's talk about Boyle's law or other little laws of physics. Because you're talking about pressure and going down atmospheres. And then when you go beyond 150 feet, you got to talk about gases, because the human body can no longer just breathe oxygen down there. And these things aren't things you just need to learn. You have to know them, because once you're without oxygen, and I don't care how tough you are, you don't last too long. So all that education is important. Well, let's talk about explosives. We blow stuff up all the time. Okay? You might think you're just in the movies, you go up there and put something on there, go boom, and blow it up. Well, you have to think about the area of your target. And you got to think about things like 3/8 A, or d squared over 40, or d squared over 50, if it's an internal or external. Or if it's a cylinder, you got to come up with this thing called something like pi d or pi r squared. It's interesting because Congress just did a resolution the other week in honor of the mathematical constant of pi, 3.1416. I was once told it's 22/7, just not as accurate if you forget that other number. But the congressman from Pennsylvania said, I thought they were talking about PIE. If you think that I'm talking about apple or pumpkin pie, you have a little bit of problems. That's why you have to learn these things. But we heard about all these different countries that people are from. Let's talk about when I was a teenager, we had the Soviet Union, this big, giant country that we had to compete against and win more gold medals of in the Olympics. Or someday we thought we'd have a world war with World War III. But in 1989, the Soviet Union broke up, and we had now independent countries. I knew nothing about USSR, so I had to learn real quick. They talked about this thing called Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan. How about Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia? I said, whew, I don't even know where they're at. And then when I got to the State Department, I found that's the only agency in the United States government who doesn't talk about a country by the name of the country. It talks about the capital city, because that's where our embassies are located. So I had to go back to the book. And then I challenge anybody, do you know the capitals of those countries? I'll help you out. How about Ashgabat, Dushanbe, Bishkek, Tashkent, Almaty? How about Baku, Yerevan, Tbilisi? But then once I knew all those capitals, and I traveled to all those countries, by the way, some countries in the world decided that, well, we're going to find the geographical center of a country so more people have access to the government. So when I told you the capital of Kazakhstan was Almaty, I'm incorrect, because now it's Astana. Or Lagos is now Abuja. Or how about Belize City is now Belmopan. Hey, you got to know your geography. I know it's kind of boring, it's dumb stuff, but that's how you have to survive to travel in the world. Look at our own cities or countries. Look at Pennsylvania. People know about Pittsburgh, or people know about Philadelphia, but a lot of people, except people from Pennsylvania, never heard of Harrisburg. Or how about Tampa and Miami, but they never heard of Tallahassee. But better yet, look at Kentucky. How do you pronounce the capital of Kentucky? Is it Louisville or Louisville? Everybody raise your hand, says Louisville. Okay? It's Frankfurt. Ah, you're bad, I got you. You thought you knew your stuff. Okay? Ah, that's great. You are dumber than you look. I can't believe I got you. Okay, that's a great joke. So pull on a substitute teacher someday, because everybody falls for it. My sister, she says she's the brightest person in the family, and she fell for it. I can't believe it. So let's just say that that's the whole thing. But now let's talk about the most unpopular subject in the history of high school. And this is a very sensitive subject, and it's a very emotional subject in some cases. And some people say, if I say something about it, then I may be a racist. Oh my God, that's the last thing I'd ever believe you'd be. And the worst and most unpopular course in the history of high school is English class. It's the most important class in the world. For the rest of your life, you have to speak English. You have to work in English. This country, it's the official language. I know that's terrible to say. But you have to be able to speak language of English because everything you do is on emails. Or you tweet or you send whatever. It's always out there. You have to write papers. I work in the State Department. That's an incredible collection of a bunch of bookworms in high school that didn't have anything to do with a way of extracurricular activities. They just studied all the time. They're exceptionally well-spoken and well-read. I write papers that go to the secretary. And you know what? If I make a mistake, they bleed all over with a little red pen. Or, as we like to say, someone along the line is going to change happy to glad. Someone's always going to be changing their work. So I would say, and recommend, make it a competition. Go get your school teacher, your English teacher, and say, I know more than they know. I can write better than they write. And use your life experiences, what you know and what you think. And let them bleed all over the paper. Let them make corrections and then read their corrections and use it and don't repeat them. Don't take it personal. Or when they tell you to talk, I bet there's kids out here that stand on the block or hang out, they hang out, wolf all this big stuff. And then they're told to stand up in class and they put their head down, they put their shoulders down, and they don't have anything to say. Yo, that's the time to stand up, put your shoulders back, and let it rip. Let them say what you got to say. Tell them what you know, what you think, because you have to be an individual. Challenge that teacher. But I'll give you a hint. They're always going to win. Those English teachers are so smart. I never read them, but you got to work on it. But people say, well, you're focused on English. Okay, let's throw English out the door. Let's not talk about English. Let's talk about language. Languages are interesting. I mean, I heard all kinds of countries here. Someone said they were from Kenya. Someone's from Kenya? Okay, what if I said Asante Sana, Karibu Sana, Seko and Jema? How can a white boy speak like that? Huh? I heard you some Italians. What if I said, che ora è allora dei sia questore, non c'è ma tu mandi a questore, c'è. Sì, molto bene. You have to go around the world and you have to learn the language because guess what? In many parts of the world, they don't even speak their language and they don't read and write it. There are so many countries where people haven't had the opportunity to learn a language and to get an education. You know, they used to say that it was a system of haves and have-nots. The gaps widened because it's now the educated and the uneducated. So work on that English, or work on any language. I can tell you, I spoke German very well. I went to universities, I went to institutes. One year I was accepted into the Goethe Institute in Berlin. Very distinguished place. I went and sat down with some professors, and the professors talked to me. We had an oral examination, so 3 professors and I, we spoke about sports, and we spoke about politics, and just general things that were going on in the country, current events. And I was placed in the highest class in the school. And when I showed up for class, it was all these academians, and they were reading Stephen King novels and talking about everything, and I sat down, and I became a member of the class, and at the end of the first day, my brain was smoking. Smoke was coming out of my ears. They were speaking in verbs, tenses of verbs that I didn't know existed. They were on chapter 36. I was only on chapter 20. And I went and saw the professor and I said, I got to get out of this class. I can't hang with it. So he put me about chapter 20 class, and then I worked my way back up. He said, what's wrong with you? You're speaking so well. I said, no, professor. I can talk the language, I don't speak or write it very well. So you have to understand, languages is really important. And in English, we use it all day, every day. And if you're a supervisor like I am, I have to write awards and I have to write annual reports. And how well I write those reports is how people get promotions and pay raises or receive the award. It's very important. Okay, let's talk about you though as teenagers. This is the thing that's so true, because we were all in your shoes one time. When you graduate from McCaskey High School, you're going to walk out this door, and you're going to enter a world where there's a whole bunch of horrible creatures. They're called adults or old people. and they're going to look at you, and they're going to give you a job. They don't give you a job because you're good looking, or they like you, or they want to do you a favor. They want you to work hard and make a lot of money for them. And the way you work hard to make a lot of money and move up is through education and through communication. Because they're going to look at you like they looked at teenagers as long as there's been teenagers. They're going to say, look at the way they dress. You see that guy over there? His pants are hanging down around his butt, ready to fall off. You know? Or those girls, they got on that tight jeans that slid down. I can see their thong or their little stamp back there. You know? I mean, everybody's going to look at you and say, look at their hair. It's different colors, it's bleached out, it's wild, crazy looking styles. You're going to say, do you hear the music they listen to? God, it's horrible. When they pull up next to you, it's so loud in traffic that it makes your windows rattle. It goes, the-boom, boom, the-boom, the-boom, boom. It sounds like a pair of sneakers in the dryer. The-boom, boom, the-boom, the-boom. Yeah? Then they're going to say, look at the ink. Then they got tattoos all over the place. And then when they don't get pierced ears no more, they got piercings in their ears, and their nose, and their eyes, and their lips, and their tongue. And probably some old private places for all I know. And you know what? They're going to just look at you and they're going to think about you that this country is going downhill. It's never going to survive. You're going to be the end of the United States of America. I have to tell you honestly that every generation heard the same thing, and every generation was greater than the last generation. And you're going to do the same thing. Because, let's say you join the military. When I joined the military, guess what? We were 19 to 25-year-old kids, and they said, you don't have the stomach for this. You're not going to ever make it in the battlefield. The kids that served in Vietnam were great. If you know any, give them a hug and say thank you. The kids I've been in all the battlefields that kids are fighting in today. Your age group, 19 to 25. You know, they are great. They are doing a wonderful job, so if you know them, hug them and thank them. Okay? It's like I tell you, as an American, okay, I'm just going to tell you, I appreciate what you're doing, and I have a lot of faith and a lot of pride in you. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Nancy Hite Giles, class of 1973. While attending McCaskey High School, Nancy was a member of the band front and the feature majorette. She also participated in Dolphin Club and was a member of the gymnastics team. Following graduation in 1973, Nancy attended and graduated from Brigham Young University. Although she never had a dance class prior to attending college, she decided to major in dance at BYU. Nancy Hite Giles is currently the owner and director of Southern Strut Dance Studio in Irma, South Carolina. Her studio has just been ranked second in North America and first in South Carolina among all competitive dance studios by Dancer magazine. She has taken students around the country. She's taken them to Hawaii to perform and win on the nationally televised shows Star Search and Destination Stardom. Her students have also performed at Radio City Music Hall and competed on the national TV show So You Think You Can Dance. Nancy has dancers who have and are currently appearing on Broadway, in music videos, national TV commercials, the Radio City Rockettes, the TV show Boston Legal, the cast of the children's TV show and tour The Wiggles Cruise Ship Entertainment, and the co-producer for television shows Dancing with the Stars, The Bachelor, and The Bachelorette. Nancy has been honored as a distinguished alumni of Brigham Young University and selected as Dance Teacher of the Year by the national magazine Dance Together. She was an original dancer on the nationally televised Donnie and Marie show for several years, and she also toured with the show through Europe, Asia, and here in the United States. Nancy is a role model for her students and is passionate about helping them learn many of life's lessons. that come through dance, which she credits learning from Marion Frank, her McCaskey, gym teacher and coach. Nancy is married to Mark Giles, her college sweetheart and former starting quarterback for the BYU football team. They are parents of Tawny, professional singer and dance instructor, Justin, the choreographer, Danielle, school cafeteria employee, Brandon, a mechanic, and Nick, a freshman at the University of Southern Virginia and a member of the college baseball team. Students, will you welcome Nancy Hite Giles, class of 1970, and the 2009 class of 1990.
Okay, thank you so much. It's been 36 years since I was sitting out here and as a member of the McCaskey student body, and it's really great to be back today. I want to thank the Alumni Association for this fabulous honor today, and I want to, I'm so humbled to be up here today, congratulate the other recipients of this award. It's amazing to share the stage with them, and it's also very humbling. In fact, I was thinking about it as I was preparing this week, and I was thinking, it's a little intimidating. And the thought occurred to me, why am I up here, is what I've done really important. And my message to you is this, that yes, whatever we do is very important, and whatever we choose to do is significant. And that we're all very different. Sorry, the pollen is blooming in South Carolina, and I've got allergies. It's very different personalities and different things that we like to choose, and that's the beauty of it, that we are all very different. And we can choose to be whatever we want to be. That's the beauty of the whole thing. So I was asked today to speak to you a little bit about how McCaskey prepared me for what I'm doing today. And I quickly reflected back to my years growing up in Lancaster County and coming through the Lancaster County schools. And I remember as a little girl, I always had the thought of wanting to take a dance class. But that was an extracurricular activity outside of school, which we did not have the money to do. Something my family couldn't afford to do. It was extra. So if I wanted to do anything that was entertaining or learn any skills, it had to be whatever was offered at McCaskey High School. Or I go back to my time at Lincoln Middle School, all the schools growing up in Lancaster County. I had to participate in anything that was there for me because that was the opportunity that I had, and that's what I could afford to do. So I remember thinking of all the things that I wanted to do. I loved coming to school. I loved being in school. I loved being at McCaskey High School. I looked forward to coming each day, and I looked forward to the things I was going to learn and the people I was going to meet and the things that I was going to do. And I found that one of the outlets for me in the fall was to participate as a majorette in the band. This wasn't dance per se, but it was related. And I enjoyed traveling with the band. I enjoyed participating at the sporting events and all the friends and people that I met at that time. But I indulged in that. I loved it. I lived it. And I enjoyed the experiences at the time. In the winter, I was able to participate on a girls' gymnastic team. Now, I didn't come into this team with any experience, but I came into it with a whole lot of desire. I couldn't wait to learn. And there were opportunities after school, all the way through middle school and high school, to come learn gymnastics. And we were a very unique school at the time in that we had a full Olympic equipped gym for girls. And you just don't see that, you don't hear of that. And I was eager to come in and participate in learning these things. And I did, and I was able to participate on the gymnastics team. In the spring, we had swimming events here, and I know I've asked about your swimming here, and I know you have a swim team. Back then, everybody in high school had to take a swimming class before they could graduate. And most people put it off to the very end because nobody wanted to take the swimming class. Well, I was just a different person because they also offered water ballet. Now, who ever heard of that before? We had synchronized swimming here at McCaskey High School, and I thought, what a wonderful idea. I had no experience in water ballet. I had learned to swim as a young girl, but I had no experience in water ballet. So I came into it with no experience, but I came into it with a big heart and a big desire to learn. And that I did. And the whole time I was here, I spent all my after-day hours, after school hours, in the swimming pool, learning to do water ballet and performing with the synchronized swimming team. I also, while I was at McCaskey, learned to lifeguard. I got my lifeguarding certificate while I was here. And I was able over the summer to get jobs as a lifeguard at different pools to start putting away my money so I could have a continuing higher education later. In my travels and in my business as I'm going about it, many times I often end up in a swimming pool and I'll whip out my water ballet and people look at me and say, where in the world did you learn to do that? And I stand very proudly, and I've always said I learned that in my high school. I said, you're kidding. I said, I'm not. I said, most people don't even know where to train for something like that. Now, I wasn't the best person in the pool, but I had a huge heart and a great desire to learn it, and that I did too. I've also, in my travels, as I've met around many dance colleagues and many opportunities to teach and perform in seminars in dance education, have been able to reflect back to my training as a gymnast and to a wonderful coach, Marion Frank, who really knew the sport and really taught me basics that to me now, 30 years into teaching, I refer back to that and remember things that she taught me that were sound principles that are helping me do what I do today. And I've had colleagues ask me, how do you know so much about the balance beam? And how can you relate that to what we're doing in dance right now? Where did you get that concept from? And I inevitably will go back to, I learned that in high school. This is where I learned it. I learned it back in high school. I've had many interviews in the past 30 years for different events and awards that were issued, and the interviewer's first comment was, well, tell me all about your training as a young girl. Tell me about all the people you studied with and all the dance classes that you took. And my question and my answer has always been, I didn't have any dance training when I was a young girl. It wasn't affordable. Well, how in the world can you do something like this? It's too late. And most people, for an athlete and to train for a dancer who is an athlete, takes many, many years of dedication and hard work. And it's very hard for people to understand that that's not what I grew up doing. But I would explain to them that my basis started at McCaskey High School, at my high school, which I was proud to be a part of. That when I was here at McCaskey, I learned that I had a great interest in performing, and I had a great interest in talent. And there was an interest in sports, athletic. And I learned that while I was here. I also learned teamwork. I learned to schedule my time wisely while I was here. I learned to have fun. And I learned handling disappointments. And I learned that working hard equaled success. Sometimes. Sometimes I learned that when I worked really hard, it didn't mean the success, I didn't gain the success I was looking for, and it meant I needed to go back and work harder, that there was something missing, or there was more of me to give. And I learned those skills when I was here. I was able to pursue my career much later than most dancers or athletes are able to do so. But I was able to do that when I got to college. And I was able to pick and choose some of the curriculum I wanted. Well, there was a huge drama program and a huge dance program. And I was able to start taking some classes that I wanted. And the first year I was in there, the dance people were very negative towards me, saying that there's no way you can do this. You started way too late. I just don't see it in you. They didn't know what was in me. They didn't know the desire that was in me. And the building blocks that were built while I was here at McCaskey. So I went on and finished, I got my degree. Now I had to take a lot of classes to get caught up, because it was true. I was very behind. I took classes in dance. I took them not just once, I'd take them 2 or 3 times knowing I wasn't going to get credit for them. I just wanted to be there. I got involved. Now, when you study dance in college, it was a fine arts program, so I just wasn't taking dance classes all day. My classes were very similar to the pre-med students. I had to take all the biologies and the anatomy and physiologies and all the sciences that go along with movement and what your body was doing. And I was in class with pre-med students, so along with all those curriculum, all those classes I was taking, Englishes and sciences and biologies, I was taking dance classes till 8, 9 o'clock at night and participated in every event I could. Every city, every town I went into, I would take a dance class. Anybody that would come into the campus that would offer anything in that area, I would be there and participate. I absorbed and took everything in that I could and proved that it wasn't too late, that I had pulled from the training and the education and the excitement I had gotten here, and I was able to continue. I was able to pursue a professional career, which is never a dream that I had in my mind or a focus I thought I was going to get to do, but I was able to do that, and most importantly, be able to teach over the last 30 years thousands upon thousands of children the art and love of dance, and help them discover who they are and know that they can do whatever they want. A lot of my kids, yes, they have achieved in the dance world, but I have a lot of people that have achieved in sciences and biologies and school and education, and they've gone on because of the education they've had in dance to feel better about themselves and feel like they can do. And that's what I would like to encourage to all of you today, to take the opportunity to learn while you're at McCaskey, and not just here, but in the next place that you may be from this point on. Learn all that you can, love it while you're learning it, live it, and then most importantly, share it. But it's never too late. If you continue to do this, you will be preparing yourself for success. It may be in an area you've always dreamed of, or it may be in a place that you didn't know you could go. My dream came true, but it came because of a lot of hard work and focusing on what was available to me at the moment, and then building upon that later when the opportunities were open to me. I attribute the ability to do this from the education I got here at McCaskey High School. And it is here for all of you too, if you will just take advantage of what is here in front of you now and what is to come. I wish happiness to all of you, because that is what is being successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Barbara Barr, class of '79. Barbara's broadcasting career has taken her from Bangor to Boston, Scranton to Portland, and back home to Lancaster and WGAL. Most recently, Barbara covered the historic presidential election of 2008. She was assigned to cover Senators Hillary Clinton and John McCain. She obtained several one-on-one interviews with the candidates, as well as a rare interview with the Republican vice presidential nominee, Sarah Palin. Barbara covered dozens of campaign events across Pennsylvania, including the Democratic debate in Philadelphia. During and after the election, Barbara appeared as a guest on MSNBC, WITF-TV, and WHB Radio. She was also part of a panel of journalists who took part in an election forum at Penn State University. WGAL's team election coverage has won the prestigious Walter Cronkite Award from the University of Southern California, and Barbara was a big reason we won that award. Barbara has also worked as a sportscaster and producer in Portland, Maine, and Boston. She followed the Patriots during her their Super Bowl years, as well as the Red Sox during the curse years. She interviewed players such as Tom Brady, Adam Vinatieri, and Pedro Martinez. Barbara has also won Associated Press Awards for both news and sports reporting. Barbara has been in the arena. She played professional basketball for a team in London, England. Basketball was Barbara's ticket to college. As an outstanding athlete, she received a scholarship to Boston University after earning first-team All-State honors at McCaskey. Her journalism career began in 6th grade at Robert Fulton Elementary School, when social studies teacher, the late Miss Jane Schisler, selected her to be the school broadcaster. There was another Fulton teacher, Ken Sopp, a gym teacher, who saw some athletic ability in young Barbara, particularly on the basketball court. Barbara played as the only girl on the all-boys basketball team at Fulton. Those interested in journalism and sports took off here at J.P. McCaskey. Late Dennis Schmidt chose Barbara to write Tornado Talk. In basketball, coaches Lee Bossert and Dave Myers were building a powerhouse, and the Tornadoes won the Eastern Pennsylvania Championship. I am proud to introduce my friend and former colleague at WGAL-TV and recipients of the 2009 Distinguished Alumni Award, Barbara Barr.
Thanks, everyone. Good morning. I'm Dick. After getting up so many years at such an ungodly hour, it's probably the only one really awake here today for us, but it's an honor that he introduced me. It makes this extra special and to join him among the distinguished alumni. And it's certainly an honor to join Norman, Lori, Nancy, and James to get this award. And when I think about all the graduates at McCaskey who've done such wonderful things in life, and all the graduates that I graduated with in 1979 that were such high achievers, for me to be chosen for this honor is really deeply humbling. I thank Sherma and Bill who do such an incredible job with the Alumni Association. I thank the committee for giving me this award, and obviously the check is in the mail to you guys for picking me for this thing. I kept anticipating a phone call at some point in the last couple of weeks. Oh, we made a mistake here. It's really some other barber. But no, I'm deeply honored and certainly humbled to get this award and stand before you today. I am here, like the others, to talk a little bit about how McCaskey and growing up in Lancaster has helped shape my life and contributed to some of the success I've had. I grew up in this city. I went to James Buchanan Elementary School first. I then went to Mifflin, which is now closed. And then I went to Robert Fulton Elementary School, so I tried to make the rounds. It was at Fulton that I met a couple of teachers that played a big role in my life. Ken South, who was a gym teacher, and he really did recognize some of the athletic ability in me and encouraged me. He told me to come see me play at McCaskey one day, and he kept that promise. And yes, he did pick me, and along with the other boys that played basketball, to join an all-boys basketball team. And it's a lot of fun for me. The boys were incredible. That was at a time maybe when girls didn't do that as much. I think I was a little nervous. When you're 11, you don't necessarily want to stand out. I think you want to fit in. But it was a great kind of pioneering experience for me. Another teacher, Miss Jane Schisler, she was a social studies teacher. She gave me my first tennis racket. I went on to play at McCaskey. She also made me the school broadcaster. I think she saw in me perhaps some journalism abilities that I hadn't at all thought of in myself at the time. And back then, the big stories of the day were the reading the school lunch menu, the intramural results, and hosting a talent show, which we seem to have accordion players all the time. I'm not sure why, but you got to start somewhere, is what I say. After that, I made my way to Reynolds and Wheatland Junior High Schools, and I went to one high school, McCaskey, which I thought was the greatest at the time and still do. Growing up, I was an only child raised by a single parent, my mother, and she did the work of two parents. We didn't have a whole lot of money, didn't go on that many vacations. For me, vacation was pretty much playing ball at the playground. But I always knew that I had a lot of love and a lot of support. And she put my needs before her own. And I think that's really, truly the definition of love, is if you put someone else's needs before your own. Now, I mention this only because I want to say to you that I don't think it's where you start in life or how many material possessions you have that will measure your success or how well you do. And I don't think you should allow circumstances to dictate what happens to you. I know sometimes the American dream can sound pretty trite when you're dealing with problems at home or issues at school, and it sounded trite to me at times in my life too, as I was trying to make my way in the world. But I would tell you, never give up on that dream that you have. Don't expect to be given things, but keep dreaming, and if you put the work in, things can happen for you, good things. My connection with McCaskey started very young. I was about 3 years old when my mother took me to a football game. She thought that I'd love to hear the band, which I did, but she never anticipated I'd love the football so much. We'd keep coming back to football games at McCaskey, and they were a real sense of pride then. They played Saturday afternoon games, and when McCaskey won, everyone would blow their horn going through town. And I kind of miss those days. I still have part of the goalpost that the fans tore down after one of the games. And on Friday nights, when McCaskey would play away, I'd actually listen to the games on radio. So when I got here, I had a real sense of pride in this school. And for me, sports were huge, along with journalism and books. I always loved to read because they actually take me to faraway places that I really couldn't afford to go to at the time. I played softball, tennis, and basketball at McCaskey. And while I'm talking a lot right now about sports and journalism, you can really plug anything into that for yourself. Maybe your love and passion is art, or music, or science, or math. It can be anything. But just know to try to follow your heart and follow your passion. Basketball was my big game. I grew up playing on the playgrounds. I played at Buchanan Park. And I'd play there until dark fell. And I always figured, well, if I could shoot in the dark without a net, I'd probably do pretty well in a lighted gym. And I got to McCaskey, I had a couple of great coaches in Lee Bossert and Dave Myers. And at that time, they were just starting to build a power. And I hear and I've listened to Allen Iverson say, practice. Why do you need practice? Well, yeah, well you do, I did. I love practice. And so did my teammates back then as well. Anytime I could get a basketball in my hands, I thought it was a great gift to me. I couldn't wait to get to practice. I couldn't wait to go play in the playground after school. I couldn't wait to play before 10 people. Or I couldn't wait to play before 10,000 people. And we, fortunately, were able to play in front of that many people. We played at the Harrisburg Farm Show. We played at the Hershey Park Arena. We even played at the Pittsburgh Civic Center because we were blessed with great coaches who prepared us. I think that was the key. If we were going up against a Crescent team, we'd play against 8 people in practice. We played a tall team, they brought brooms out. We had to shoot above brooms. I think they just prepared us to do well. And fortunately, we did, playing in playoff games, finally going to the state championship game, which was actually in Pittsburgh that year, which is what I blame for our loss. It had been in Hershey Park every other year before that. But incredibly enough, we're probably...
While attending McCaskey, he learned English and was a member of the Puerto Rican Latino Club, Students in Teaching program sponsored by Penn State, and the Migrant Education program at Millersville University. He attended Pennsylvania State University, where he had the opportunity to work with the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education in the capacity of research assistant and the recruitment efforts of Latino and migrant students at the university. As an undergraduate student, he helped in the establishment of the first Hispanic fraternity at Penn State University. He served as director of the Future Planning Center for the Office of Secondary Education in the School District of Lancaster. Together with then Superintendent Dr. Vicki Phillips, Norman facilitated the creation of the center. He was appointed by Governor Rendell as Executive Director of the Governor's Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs, the Commonwealth's advocate agency for Pennsylvania's Latino residents. He's the youngest Executive Director in the 35-year history of the Commission. He was appointed to the position at age 27. In this role, Norman makes recommendations to the Governor, state agencies, the legislature, and local and county governments on issues, policies, procedures, and legislation that would enhance the status of the Latino community in Pennsylvania. As the Governor's liaison to the Latino community, he ensures that state government is accessible, accountable, and responsive to the needs of Latinos, and the strategies and programs are developed to enhance the community's educational, social, political, and economic status. For more than 10 years, Norman has been an organizer, activist, and active voice in Pennsylvania on social justice issues. He's a strong advocate for Latino political participation. Norman has been involved since the age of 5 in mayoral, city council, school board, state house, and senate, congressional, gubernatorial, and presidential campaigns. He is the youngest of 5 brothers and the only sibling to complete a college education. He resides in the city of Lancaster. Students, will you please welcome Norman Bristol Cologne, class of 93 and class of 2005.
Buenos días. Finalmente tenemos algo de español. It is my great honor and distinguished privilege to be here today with this group of individuals. I think that being in this class of 2009, it is demonstrating that this is a group of overachievers. And I hope that at the end of this event, Nancy, you and I will be dancing some salsa on stage. You know, we all come from different places. In my case, I came from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico to McCaskey High School. And let me tell you, McCaskey, it doesn't matter where you come from, but it doesn't matter what you do here. It doesn't matter if you are from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, or England. But it doesn't matter when you are at McCaskey that you are one of the very best. Because seniors, I don't know about you, but for me, I have a great sense of pride in this high school. For me, it's not only the best, it is the finest that Lancaster County has to offer. This is the best high school that Lancaster has. And let me tell you, when I came here, I didn't bring much with me. I just brought my hopes, my dreams, and my aspirations. And I didn't have anything. Just the values that my mom instilled in all of us. But I came here with a clear purpose. And it was to get the best education possible. And when I was walking around McCaskey High School back in 1993, I didn't know much English. Just the basics. Pollito, chicken, gallina, hen, lápiz, pencil, and pluma pen. Just the basics. But let me tell you, when you are clear about what you want to accomplish, anything and everything is possible. And McCaskey allowed me the opportunity to learn the English language. And yes, I will agree with James. Make sure that you speak and write English the best way possible. But don't you ever forget that English is not everything. You need to learn other languages in order for you to be competitive and in order for us to make sure that America indeed is secure. Because if you see today the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, many times we are making mistakes because we don't understand the language or we don't understand the Iraqis or Afghans. So it is so important that while you are here, you take this wonderful opportunity that McCaskey has to offer. Because this is, to me, like a small United Nations. And let me tell you, going to Penn State University was a great blessing. And I feel blessed for what life has given me. But I will always look back at my years here. It made me a stronger, humble person, a very, very strong person in what I believe. You know, in 2006, when nobody knew this gentleman, I was already having dinner with him when I was working in the governor's campaign. And today, he's the President of the United States of America. And let me tell you, meeting with then candidate and then Senator Obama was really important to me. A meeting with Hillary Clinton that I took and we campaigned together in Puerto Rico, and I know that she had a great time in the island. I'm working for the governor, I'm meeting Bill Clinton, I'm meeting then Pope John Paul II, I'm meeting all these people from all around the world like Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu. Has been, to me, the biggest blessing. And I hope that for all of you, when you leave McCaskey, you live with a great sense of purpose. That you will make the job of this fine committee much more difficult. Because it's going to be really hard to choose 5 of you to be in the Distinguished Alumni Award. That this will grow, and instead of 5, they will have to have about 20. Because I know from Dwight and for Tim and for our fine Superintendent Pedro Rivera, we all believe that in this audience today, we have the first African-American governor of Pennsylvania, or the first Latino president of the United States, or the first McCaskey grad that will find the cure for cancer of AIDS. What I am trying to say here is, we believe in you. We believe in this fine institution. And this is a great example of why. Because when you live here, you will have a great sense of purpose. That in order for us to really move forward, we want you to be global citizens of the world. And in the process, you will make yourself and all of us, the McCaskey family, very proud. Go Tornadoes. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Lorraine T. Dean, class of '99. When Lorraine completed J.P. McCaskey High School, she wanted to become a medical doctor. Never dreamed of the adventures that she would have in her years after high school. During her high school years, she had actively participated as president of Student Congress, Honor Society, president of the Bible Club, tennis team, speech and debate, vocal ensemble, school board liaison, AFS Day, Project Forward Leap, Governor's School for International Studies of Business, and the Young Scholars Program in Math and Science. Lori helped write the petition that brought stadium lights to McCaskey's football team. At the graduation ceremony, she was a commencement speaker and received numerous awards, including the first black female to be named recipient of the Hall of Honor Award. After graduating, she began her adventure pursuing a 4-year college degree in biological basis of behavior at the University of Pennsylvania. But by her senior year, she realized she no longer wanted to go to medical school. Instead, Lori finished college and applied to work on a health research project about people's distrust of the healthcare system. At first, she thought public health research would be sitting in a library, reading some old books. But after working for this job, Lori found that health research was actually finding out what people's attitudes and opinions are about their health and healthcare in the world today. And from there, Lori was accepted to be Leonard Davis Institute Summer Undergraduate Minority Research Scholar. This experience opened doors to a new adventure for Lori, an all-expense-paid year living in Venezuela under a Fulbright grant. And following that, a new adventure awaited her in a doctoral program at Harvard School of Public Health, which she hopes to use to address the effects of urban poverty and racism on health. Currently, Lori is in her 3rd year. Students of McCaskey, please welcome Lorraine T. Dean, class of '99.
Good morning. I'm going to keep this short because I remember being in your shoes. I actually remember being at this assembly 10 years ago thinking, who are these people and why are they up here and why are these lights so low? Because I'm really about to fall asleep. So I know I saw some of y'all over there falling asleep, so hopefully I can hold your attention a little bit. But who I am, you've kind of already heard that as Dick gave this wonderful introduction. Why I'm here, I would say largely the reason why I'm here is because of McCaskey, and in fact because of this very assembly. About 10 years ago, actually it was 11 years ago, I was sitting in this assembly, and I remember one of the distinguished alumni being honored. His name was Damian Rios. The reason I knew Damian, he's actually one of my older sister's friends. But the reason I remember Damian was because I saw someone who really I felt was just like me. He had a similar background. He was a minority. He was interested in the health field, 2 things that I was interested in. And to what I can remember, he had a similar kind of family upbringing in that his parents hadn't went to college or anything like that. So I felt like I was seeing someone up here doing really fantastic things. And this was someone that was just like me. And so as I stand up here, I hope that as you listen to kind of what I'm saying and hear the things that I've done, that you can have that same kind of attitude that, you know, you might think, yeah, it's really crazy to think that I could be up there. But as I sat there, I thought that exact same thing. And 10 years later, here I am. I would also say that one of the things that was really interesting to me about Damon was that he had had many opportunities and similar opportunities that I had when I was growing up here in Lancaster, and of course going to McCaskey. I went to Project Forward Leap. Anybody else went to PFL? I know there's somebody out there went to PFL, which was a great experience that really helped prepare me for college. If anything, it helped to prepare me how not to dye all my clothes pink when I went to college, which most of the people I know ended up doing because they didn't know how to do laundry. During my years at McCaskey, that was when I was at Wheatland, during my years at McCaskey, I participated in things like speech and debate, which I'm standing up here right now, and you would not believe how many of those skills that I'm thinking about from that speech and debate team that I'm using right now as I speak to you today. So kind of similar to what I think everyone up here has said, you do remember the things, and McCaskey is a foundation for what you do in the future, and you do remember these things and use the things that you learned here for years and years to come. In addition to speech and debate, I had participated on student congress and writing petitions. Now, as a graduate student, I have to write my own grants. And I think that writing those grants early on, even when I was in high school, was a foundation for understanding kind of how to write a grant, how to frame it, and basically, how do I get the money that I need from people so that I can do the things that I would like to do and be impactful in the world in the way that I'd like to be impactful. At McCaskey, I was able to take 3 languages. I took Spanish, German, and at the time there was Japanese. And of course, what I learned in Spanish here, I ended up taking maybe 2 more classes in Spanish in college, but that was enough for me to be able to go to Venezuela, and I lived there for a year abroad and was fully fluent, basically based on what I had already learned from my high school Spanish years. This past fall of 2008, I went on a trip to Korea to visit one of my friends and had a stopover in Tokyo. And so I actually ended up using some of my Japanese there because I was hungry and I was in the Tokyo airport and I had to figure out how to get something to eat. And the German sometimes I use, but I actually use it more I really like wines. So I actually use it a lot in choosing wines and in listening to certain types of music. I think music is another love that I really cultivated here at McCaskey. I was involved in vocal ensemble. I was involved in chamber choir and number of other choirs. I play some vocal ensemble people. Which I really fall back on. I still sing and perform every once in a while. And a lot of those performance skills and a lot of those breathing techniques, like I'm using right now, I gained in high school. High school also taught me how to deal with haters. And sadly, some of the haters that I had were in my own family. One of my older cousins went here. And if you look at my picture in the little pamphlet, I was a little bit nerdy, which was okay, because I remember people would always say that they thought I was a really cool nerd, even if I was a nerd. But I had a cousin that also went to McCaskey. He was a couple years older than I was. And he would always like smack me upside of the head and be like, nerd, 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 every time I walked down the hallway. But you know, it was all love, he was still my cousin. About 2 years later, I think I was about to graduate, he came back to me and he said, you know what, I made fun of you all of those years. I hated on the fact that you were just trying to, do your books and do your thing. I made fun of you all of those years. But now looking back, I'm kind of regretting that I wasn't doing what you were doing. It made it a lot harder on him to do the things that he wanted to do. He got ready to go to jobs or go to college. He didn't have the same skill set because he hadn't applied himself at a really critical time that was easy to apply himself and where he had lots of opportunities. And that was right here at JP McCaskey as well. So it was kind of nice to kind of see that come full circle and see him recognize the value of his education, but sadly, a little bit too late. You, however, are still in the position where you can kind of fully take advantage of what McCaskey has to offer. I know most of you are graduating soon, but there are still a lot of things that you can do. Whatever the case, definitely graduate. If you are a senior and you're in this room and you have made it this far, definitely graduate. I remember a number of people who dropped out like a month before school ended, which makes absolutely no sense. And so, yeah, I'd just like to encourage all of you and all that you do. You can be up here in under 10 years, as I am, and I'm really proud to be up here and to be able to encourage you, and I wish all of you the best.
Thank you, Lori. Now, if you would all stand, please. And here you have the members of the J.P. McCaskey High School Distinguished Alumni Class of 2009. And now, for some closing remarks, Mr. Tim Altieri, the Assistant Principal of McCaskey.
Good morning. I'm going to stick to my script, which I know is about a minute long, so hang in there with me. Andrew Young was talking with high school students a week ago. He's a famous African American who's been a pastor from Georgia and a friend of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Andrew Young also served as mayor of Atlanta. He presented Georgians as a United States congressman. He also served as our country's ambassador to the United Nations. Last week, Andrew Young spoke with students attending a hall meeting that addressed the high school dropout crisis in our country. He commented that money, while important, should not be their main goal. He said, "Your purpose in life is not how much money you can make, it's how much good you can do. They didn't name a street for me because I have money. I've been broke all my life." While the overwhelming majority of us won't be as famous as Andrew Young is, we will encounter situations every day where we can make a positive difference in other people's lives. Today, as we honor our distinguished alumni from our own great school, we're reminded about the importance of sticking to our goals and building lives that touch other people in positive ways. Thank you, distinguished alumni, for coming back and sharing with us your stories and successes. We are proud of you, and we're proud of every student who's committed to completing high school. This concludes the 2009 Distinguished Alumni Awards Assembly. Seniors, you may report to your third period class.